This is TWiT.
I got a question for you.
Yes, go ahead.
So Meta has lost $500 billion.
Good Lord, what a tumble. Mm-hmm.
So the question I have, imagine, I know you don't invest in tech stocks, you don't buy tech stocks, you're not an investor that way at all, but just imagine for a moment that you are all greedy investors and all you care about is money. You don't care about principal, you don't care about anything else. All you care about is money.
Profit.
Knowing the stock price of Facebook now, and I don't own any, would you buy it? Just if all you care about is money, that is to say, do you think it's going to go back up, or do you think Facebook has found a new seller?
I would, because they're going to have a hot spot and just in the near future. I think they will have a hot spot where it's going to pop up, and then that's when I'd sell off, pump and dump kind of thing.
I don't see. Yeah, you go ahead, Leo.
No, Matt. I
was just going to say that regardless of what you think about Facebook, there's no way that it lost $500 billion worth of value in the last couple of weeks.
I think that's accurate.
I mean, it's just not possible. So,
in fact, and Ben Thompson has a good piece on this in Stratechery talking about, because Facebook's $500 billion slide in value. That's a lot. Everybody's attributing to Apple's ATT, that switch.
Oh yeah,
and I find it hard to believe that it could be have that much impact on Facebook's business.
It's not just that.
I put a story up in the rundown about that.
Their user base fell for the first time.
Yeah, but not by a lot.
15 years.
But still, they were always grow.
First time it fell.
Yeah.
There's a growth premium, but is it $500 billion? I don't think so.
I doubt that.
I would, again, like you, Jeff, I don't invest in tech stocks. I'm not allowed to. But I think that if you believe you should buy low, sell high, this is a good time to buy, I would think.
Yeah. And I do not plan on buying Facebook, but that would be my strategy if I were.
Yeah.
This is the time.
So another way to ask the question.
It's going to go back up.
Is Facebook past its prime?
Well, that's clearly what the market's saying is, Facebook is the next MySpace. Stand back because TikTok or whoever is going to beat them. I don't know. I find that hard to believe.
I do too, because you don't see a lot of things that are saying, hey, sign in with your TikTok to use it. Facebook is a daggum platform, unfortunately.
Facebook is still a great place to buy ads, right? Especially Instagram. Everybody I talk to says Instagram ads work. Everybody who uses Instagram ads.
Well, they work on you.
I can speak for myself as a buyer, but people who are buying ads also say, no, those are the ads that work for us.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's changed.
So I put a Wall Street Journal story into the rundown that does get down to the brass tacks of individual businesses and the impact of the Apple change on them. Martha Kruger runs a gift basket business called Gift and Market.
Yeah.
She spent her entire ad budget on Meta platforms. When Apple made the change with the privacy feature for mobile devices, she said her cost to acquire customers rose tenfold. Used to be she had a $14 customer acquisition cost, increased tenfold. So she shifted her whole ad budget to Alphabet's Google. That's just one case, but there are others in here.
One point that Ben Thompson makes in Stratechery is that Google's search ads are still the perfect ad because you don't have to track anybody. They came and they searched for something, and you put a related ad in there.
Here it is. It's interesting. Yeah. He says that the next best thing is Amazon's ads.
Yeah.
Because, of course, they're search-related as well.
Yeah. So it may be really that's what the market is responding to and saying, the future of advertising isn't in tracking. I think really that's the real message from the stock market is not so much, app transparency, Apple's app transparency is killing Facebook. Not at all. But just that it's very clear consumers no longer want to be tracked, and they're going to take steps not to be tracked, and that companies are going to give them that, build it in. In fact, we talked about this last week. Google has announced they're going to, in the next 2 years, they're not rushing to do it, but they're going to add application tracking transparency to Android phones as well. But that's really more a reaction to the fact that consumers are saying enough. And so I think the market is responding to that, not necessarily ATT, but they're responding to that and saying, you know what, in the long run, customers are don't want this tracking. So yeah, let's favor. Now, did Google go up? Did Amazon go up? I think
stock no. Well, not right now. Everything.
All the
not
tech stocks are all the stocks are down. So you can't even judge. That's another reason you can't say, oh my God, this is
because the Nasdaq was down like 2% today.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, Brian Morrissey, the founder of Digiday, who's since left, has a piece down on the rundown, down on line something or other, 111, in which he's arguing that the pendulum will swing back toward context. Which
is what we do.
Right. Environment lost to data. I don't care where the ad goes as long as I know you're interested in boots. Right. And data uber alles. Now he says, well, now the data is getting cooties and nobody wants data anymore and data's bad and data's not working, then does context come back? I think for some things, you never lost it, Leo, here, but does it come back to your basic publication? I'm not so sure.
He also says, and I love hearing this, primary engagement media will gain. The next phase of digital publishing will favor quality over quantity in terms of audiences. Those publishing brands that put community at their core will thrive since it easily lends itself to a direct relationship.
Community? Did Ant hear community?
That will make those audiences far more valuable than a random collection of people. This is what we've been saying all along, and I hope that's true. Of course, Spotify is meanwhile investing, hundreds of millions of dollars in ad tracking and all of the things that into data and all the things that the communities are rebelling against. It would be really ironic, wouldn't it, if Spotify's $500 billion investment in this stuff turned out to be badly timed, that like they bought into it at the peak and now it's going down. That would make me happy.
Yeah, it would. It would make me too.
You also put an article in here why podcasts are becoming Netflix. This is the New York Times. Podcasts have been a freewheeling corner of digital life, but the potential for profits is changing that. And this is all based on the Spotify acquisition of Chartable and Podsites we talked about last week, where they're getting into the direct ad insertion. They're spending a lot of money on content. They're doing all that targeted stuff. Boy, that would be ironic if it turned out that, no, that's not the way to go. Sorry, Ant, go ahead.
No, I was just piggybacking off of the Facebook discussion a minute ago. As you're talking about, the consumers are starting to just throw their hands up and say, hey, we've had enough of all of this tracking and we're concerned about our privacy and yada, yada, yada. But yet at the same time, the masses are also still latching on to these different podcasts and shows that are just spewing out interesting information that's not necessarily true. So I'm like, where does all of this even begin to match up? It just doesn't make any sense to me, because that's why I say I think Facebook is still going to be quite all right, because there's still a gazillion people out there that will just continue to do whatever Facebook says is good for them, regardless of privacy or not.
Yeah, I mean, I generally agree with you, although also I think the market sometimes is, it's the wisdom of crowds is accurate on this stuff, and maybe they're really saying this is a trend. The trend is away from that kind of tracking. I don't know. I think that's a very interesting question. I like that.
I think that yields then a very different internet, which could be a very good thing.
Yes.
And
not Web 3,
we reinvent advertising and content and the notions around this. We still need advertising to support media, or else we're bored.
Yeah.
I don't want to like burst any bubbles, but I don't think any of the stock trading in Facebook had anything to do with advertising.
Oh, good. It was more about the declining enrollment.
Yeah, I think it was users, and I think it was fear about the future.
Yeah. And
those things combined, and obviously fear about Apple's impact on their ad growth. But
Matthew,
if the stock market prices in the future of the company, then people are worried about the future.
The future is the future. Yeah, yeah.
Right. I agree with you, Matthew. But isn't it also the case, though, that Apple screwing over Facebook and its data leads to bigger questions about user data and advertising, as opposed to context and environment? Do you buy that?
Yeah, definitely. I just don't think that's why people trade stocks.
No,
Okay, got it.
I agree with
Yeah.
you. I agree with you.
Okay.
But do you,
Care less.
Matthew, tell me what I want to hear. You do think the content is coming back and communities
Oh, yeah.
based around content are...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you. That's all I want to hear.
Yeah.
To me, that is exciting because you're right, Jeff. We want to support journalism, but that's the best kind of journalism. It's journalism that serves a community. It's either local or, it's of a community of interest. That's the best kind, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll
there's
say
a community
something
called QAnon that's doing really well.
Yeah, well, I don't want to weigh in. Ant was talking about, whether it's true or not. I don't want to weigh in on the content itself. Yeah, absolutely. Some of these communities, are flat earthers.
It's a very powerful community.
But it's a
very
powerful community. I don't know an advertiser.
Right.
I guess maybe there's some banner makers and hat makers, but there's not a
Pizza
lot of
Pillows.
pillows. Yeah.
Pillows. Yeah.
That's all right. That's fine.
But I think that goes to your point. Like, I don't actually think QAnon and those types of things are about the facts at all. That's not.
Yeah, but who
that's not
cares?
why
That's,
people
I'm not
are part of it.
Yeah. I'm
The
not one of those
community is
people that
why
wants
they're in
stuff
it.
to be shut down because it doesn't espouse something I believe to be true. I guess if it's dangerous.
but you don't have to support it, though.
No, but but that's fine. Right. I do my thing. I don't want somebody to shut me down either because
No, I agree.
I think let a million flowers bloom and
Since Matthew's here, let me go off your point for something maybe provocative. So what's happened in the news business is that they've given up on advertising because advertising all went to digital space. Let's just imagine that some advertising started to come back. In the meantime, major publications, especially the big three newspapers in the U.S., have not abandoned advertising, but they are now majority supported by their users, which many celebrate. But I'm constantly more disappointed. My favorite three papers were the Washington Post, New York Times, The Guardian, and I'm getting more disappointed in all three. And somebody asked me on Twitter, well, why do you think that is? And I was Kate Day, now at Politico, and I responded with something that Jay Rosen said some time ago, that when the New York Times thinks that it's enthralled with its users, that its users control everything. On the one hand, they want to pander to them. On the other hand, they want to say, oh, we're independent of you, and we're going to piss you off regularly by doing both sidesism and so on and so forth, right? And I wonder whether, especially for the top three, since they get 2/3 of all the paywall money in news in America, whether this dependence on the users has skewed their mindset a little bit. And we were better off with something that was half advertising and half consumer.
Something that didn't care what people wanted.
Right.
That is a risk, I think. I actually like to think about the 10,000 true fans, I think it was, that Kevin Kelly came up with. Musicians that have pursued those types of models have found success, but they also have a community that wants to tell them what to do. So the more you cater to your community, the more they become the boss in a way. And I think it is a risk if you have a purely subscription driven model, you're going to cater more and more to those readers because they're paying the bills. And that could be a good thing or it could not be a good thing.